Hello, everyone. My name is Michael, and welcome to the very first episode of our Real ServiceNow Admin Scenarios series. So, what this series is going to involve is I'm going to be pulling real life scenarios from my day job, where I work as a system administrator for ServiceNow/programmer. I do work in the public sector, and I'll get to why that's relevant in a second. But what I'm doing is I'm pulling scenarios from my job, and we're going to be working on those in the ServiceNow development instance. I am in the Utah release right now, so you may need to choose a different release depending on when you're viewing this video. But those of you that want to follow along, please check the description because I put a link to the ServiceNow development site where you can go ahead and create an account and get a free development instance where you can follow along and try some of these challenges yourself. So why I mention I am in the public sector is because I do more than just ServiceNow system administration, but that is my primary function at my current job. So let's just go ahead and run through a few of these scenarios. And we're pretty much doing easiest to hardest. And I think this series will be really helpful for those of you who maybe already work in system administration and want to learn a bit more about ServiceNow, or those of you who have no idea what system administration involves and just kind of want to get a better idea of what you're getting yourself into. So starting from top to bottom, we got our modify user account. So what we're going to be doing for that is we're going to be adding able tutor to the hardware group. Modify business service. So what we're going to be doing for that is we're going to update the support group for that business service for Slack to application development. We're going to be creating a visual task board for P1 incidents. So that's going to feature active, high priority incidents, and we're going to group that by the state. We also have a flow that we're going to build where we're going to automate welcome emails for new users. And we're also going to be building a catalog for software requests. And that's going to involve 10 new catalog items for Microsoft and Adobe products and one order guide. We're definitely not building this from scratch. I pretty much recreated this on the development instance just because it took so long to build. But I'll kind of give you guys a quick rundown of what I did to build all of that and how you would even get started to build that on your own instance. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started with the first one. So we have our modify user account. So I'm going to drag this off to the side. And I have my development instance open. So what we're going to do from here is we're going to modify a user account. Now, because we're only adding one user to a group, typically you would go ahead and you would just do that directly from the user's profile. So you just come over here to the All Applications menu, scroll down. System and security. Okay, so let's go over to users. And there's able tutor. So you would go ahead and click on under the user ID, the hot link here. Okay, and that's going to bring us to able tutor's profile. And then we can come down to groups, click on edit, and we're looking for hardware. Click on hardware, add it over to able tutor's list of groups, click save, and able tutor has been added. Now, another way you could do this is say you're adding multiple users to this group. You would want to actually come over to the group itself, click on edit, and then you could add multiple users so that way you're not having to go to each individual profile. Okay, so next up we have our modifying a business service. Let's go ahead and search business service in our all applications menu. I'm not going to get into the CSDM model here because that is way out of scope and that's I need to learn more about it myself. But you go ahead and come over to the business service in the all applications menu. You can go ahead and click on business service under CSDM. Okay, and we have Slack right here, which is the one we're looking for. And we're looking for the support group field. And you can either click on this magnifying glass to get a list of all of the different groups. We already know which group we're going to do, so you can actually just type it in here. So we're adding application development for the support group. There we go. And you can either right click here in the subheader and click save, which will keep you on the page, or you can click update, and that will navigate us away from this page. Okay, so let's actually go back in real quick just to make sure it's saved, which it did. Cool. All right, so we are down over to number 3. So let's go ahead and bring up our list of scenarios here. So we need to go ahead and create a visual task board for P1 incidents. Okay, so what we're going to do for that, same thing, all applications menu, visual task board. Okay, we'll click New. And Freeform Board and Data-Driven Board. We're going to be clicking Data-Driven Board, but I'll just read these so you have a better idea of what each of these involve. So for a Freeform Board, add a task record to a board and structure it any way you want. Use the configurable lanes to categorize and organize your tasks. Interact with visual data on a structured board. Create a filter to display specific records from a particular table. So obviously we're going to be pulling P1 incidents, so that's going to be a data-driven board. But if we wanted just to add kind of ad hoc incident or ad hoc tasks to a board, then we would probably want to go ahead and select Freeform Board. Okay, so let's go ahead and look for incidents. There we go. And this right here is just the list of tables. So the vertical lane field, so that's pretty much how we're going to be grouping these different tasks. So we're going to want to go ahead and do it by state. Swim lane field, let's see what that is. I'm not actually sure what that is. Swim line headers. Okay, well, we're just doing the vertical lane field for now. Okay, let's go ahead and set our filter. So we're setting active is true. And and priority is critical. All right, I think that was everything we had for our criteria, right? Yep. Okay, so let's go ahead and hit create. Okay, so this is some demo data, obviously, because we're on our development instance. So what's going to happen is we're grouping it by state. So all you have to do is drag it to one of these different states and it'll actually change it. So right now, see if I can show you. Just to show you the change here. Okay, so as you can see, we're in new. So all you would have to do is move this over to in progress. Click it again. And you see the state automatically moved to in progress. So your task board is just another way to be able to track your various tasks and things that you need to get done. All right, so that was pretty much all we had to do for that. So that was pretty straightforward, right? And then if you come over here, you can actually add different people to be able to view this. So you can see all the different people up here, and you can give them different roles. Should be a way to do that. Let me see. Just add a new user. Members, assignees. Oh, okay. You know what? This is actually set up different than what I was working on my work instance. So assignees are how you assign people to these different tasks. So you actually just come in here, add primary assignee. So you can go ahead and have people assigned to these various tasks over here. And then I believe that Able Tutor should be able to come in now and make changes to this board. And then these labels, you can actually create new labels if you want to. So you can just add different. So let me do this one, for example. Let's put this as a high priority item. And then add the labels. Okay, so once you add the labels, it's just a color coordinator. So you can kind of, at a glance, you would have a better idea of what's high priority. If you have ideas in there, features, or maybe you have other labels that are relevant to what you're trying to build your task board or trying to build on your task board. That's something else you can add. Right now we're viewing compact cards, but if we remove this, then we can actually add in some additional information on these cards in case that's important. But most people like to do compact cards just because there's typically going to be a lot on here. And SLAs, that's service level agreements. So those are just agreements that are in place saying that this task, because it's high priority, needs to be completed by this amount of time. So that's kind of a rough example of why you would use SLAs. All right, let's keep going. So now we have bring up our list here. Next one up is automating welcome emails for new users. So just to give you all a quick overview. So the scenario, why I had to do this, is we have a department at the place that I work at. And what they do is they go in and they send out welcome emails to different users. and they're having to do it manually, so it's a lot of work for them, and they're having to, kind of do this daily and track all the new users that are coming in. So what we did instead is we wanted to go ahead and create a flow so that just looks for different users that are added. So let me bring up users again. Oops. I guess we could find it here too. Let's see. So we would have different users come in, and what it would do on this flow is it would look for these different users that are created, and if they meet a certain criteria, whether they're a part of a certain department or what have you, then it would actually send out that welcome email for these folks, so they don't have to go in and send a manual email to each individual user. So I was kind of talking over myself here while I was reaching Flow Designer. So all you got to do is go into All and come into Flow Designer. This is how you set up workflows on ServiceNow. It's low code, no code, so it's pretty straightforward. Excuse me, getting over a cold, so sorry if you hear me clearing my throat. So once we're in Flow Designer, you can come over to New, go ahead and click on Flow. Just give your flow a name, so we'll call it Automate Emails. You can describe it if needed. And run as, this is going to be important if the flow should only be firing off if users have certain roles. So what we'll do is we'll just run this as a system user, because it's not going to really be relevant for the roles or anything like that. And you can take a tour if you need to, but trigger. So trigger is what's going to trigger your flow. So we're going to be looking for records that are created. And we'll come over to sysuser. There we go. And you can set your condition if you want to. So like I mentioned before, you would maybe check to see if a user is a part of a certain department, or maybe has a certain suffix to their email, or whatever would be relevant for that. But for us, we're just checking for new users to keep it simple. Okay, so once that is in place, now it's going to be checking for all new users that are created. And we're going to go ahead and create an action. So what we're going to do is we're going to send a notification. Oops. So what you could do is you can kind of do ad hoc notifications through the flow. I don't like to do that though. I like to actually set up notifications, and I'll show you why I want to do that in a second. Send notification. All right, so we're going to send a notification for the user record. And then what we need to do now is we actually need to create the notification. Click on New. Okay, send notification to new user. Oops, I know how to spell. And we can categorize it, but we probably don't have any categories on here because it's our development instance. So, yep, once it's triggered, who will receive it? Okay, so we selected the email, so it's going to go to that user's email. And we could add in other people if we want to as well, but we don't need to. All right. Actually, there should be, hold on, let me do this. Let me actually save this real quick because we're missing fields. We're missing something. Oh, there we go. Sorry about that. All right, so we'll just put support at ServiceNow. Oops, well, ServiceNow does have a dash, doesn't it? I do. And what this is doing, this is going to show who the email is coming from, and all the responses to that email will be going to this email as well. You could include attachments if you want. The watermark, you don't want to do that. I guess you could do that. So what that does is it kind of just leaves a signature on the email. So say it's an incident and the user gets a notification email. If the watermark's in place and they reply, then it will actually add a comment to that record. Now, if you omit the watermark, what it's going to do is just going to send a reply to that email. So I guess for this one, it doesn't really matter because we don't really have a record in place. So we could omit it, but that would be optional here. I want to use this is the template. I want to use the employee notification template. And you should be able to see it here. They're going to show it to me. Oh, there we go. We have to jump over here to email layout. Okay, there you go. And this is kind of what the employee notification layout looks like. I know I'm kind of jumping around here, but I just wanted to show you all how it should look. This is going to be the template that the email is going to be shown on. And there's different types of templates. You can create your own email layouts too. Okay, let's go back to where we were. All right, subject. So this is the subject of the email. So welcome, new user. Welcome to ServiceNow. You're in our world now. And welcome to ServiceNow. If you need help, let us know. What do you think about that? Is that pretty professional and direct? Okay, what this is over here, this is variables. So these are different variables from the user table. So say that there's something on here that is dynamic and changes. You could go ahead and you could use so like the manager. I don't know, but we just put that on there for some reason. What that's going to do here, it's going to send the user that's getting the email, it's going to include their manager on there too. So an example when you would use that, if you have any questions, please reach out to your manager, and it's going to have the manager there. But I do want to correct myself on something. If you select this here, it may show the sys ID, so it may make no sense at all. So typically what you'll want to do is you'll want to hit this plus arrow, and then you're going to be doing something called dot walking. So you're going to be jumping from the manager record into, you could put the name on there. Yes, we'll put the full name or the name. And what this will do, this will actually show their name and user ID, or at least it should. Welcome to ServiceNow. If you need help, please let us know. Cool. And then I don't have SMS notifications set up on my work instance, so I'm not sure how those work. Okay, and push messages, those would just be push notifications that are sent to your device. Importance, you could set that too. But I think that's pretty much all we need for this example. So fingers crossed that it works. All right, let's do a once over, make sure everything is good. We omitted the watermark. We're not including attachments. And you could paste emails, or I'm sorry, pictures in here. I mean, this is a full customizable body that you can add for the emails. So you can make them as pretty as you want. So this is going to be a preview of our notification. Welcome to ServiceNow. If you need help, please let us know. If you have any questions, please reach out to your manager. And let's do Able Tutter. Able Tutter doesn't have a manager. Let's see. It's not on the preview here. Okay, so what we'll need to do is when we create the record, we need to make sure that we add the manager field, because for some reason, Able Tutter doesn't have a manager. Over to, and obviously guys, it's very irritating to have to go through the all applications menu and search for things every time. So what we can do now, since we're going to be jumping around to these anyway, is you want to just go ahead and favorite. And now they're under my favorites, so I don't have to keep looking for them. And you could group these favorites too if you need to. You can color coordinate them. You could change the logo. So maybe I'll do a video on that at some point. Okay, so let's go into Able Tutter's profile. And it looks like the manager field isn't even on here. So something that you can do if you are on a form and maybe there's a field that you need that isn't available on there, and you have the ability to do so without having to go through like a change cab and stuff like that, you would just right click here in the header, go to configure, form layout. Then we should see a manager field here in a moment. Manager, oops. We'll move it up. We'll put it underneath the active field. There it is. Okay, so AbleTutter does not have a manager, so let's set a manager for AbleTutter, and then we'll preview that email again, and then we should see the manager's name in place. So let's just put Alyssa there. Save. Okay. All right. Now let's do our preview notification. AbleTutter. There it is. Look at that. So that's how it's going to look for AbleTutter once we send the email. Assuming everything works. Okay, so everything looks good on there. And we should see it show up now on our flow because it's sending when it is triggered. So you can also set up events, or you can also just have, well, actually we probably didn't even need the flow in this example. I needed the flow on my work instance, but I guess we could have just done it through a notification. So anytime a record is inserted or updated, it would have just automatically sent that notification. But I guess it's good to have the flow. So in case we ever wanted to add something to it that maybe we couldn't have done on the notification record, it was good to do. But just wanted to let you guys know in case you have a scenario that is as simple as this, you probably could have just selected record inserted or updated, and then it would have sent the notifications the same way. All right, so let's go back over to our flow. Select our notification that we created. Oops, right there. Done. Now we're going to save it. And after it's saved, you still need to activate it. Otherwise, it's not going to be active. What I mean by that is if it's saved, it's going to save the flow record. But then if it's not activated yet, it's still going to be using the previous flow that has been activated. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and head over to this table, or this list view right here for the user table, and we're going to go ahead and create a new record. And let me actually add AbleTutter as the, let's do email test, oops, test at test.com. Because if we don't add an email, then we're not going to see anything in the outbox. Looks good. All right. Sure we're not missing nothing. Good. Okay. All right, guys, let's head to our outbox, see if the email went out. There it is. It's probably. And then if you ever want to filter by one of these columns here, you just need to click on them. So right now we're filtering by created by. So right now it's showing newest to oldest. And here's the one that we just made. Welcome, new user. And it's going to show the events and the notification that it fired from. So in case you're looking, if someone got an email, they're like, what the heck is this? I don't know what this is. And you're looking through it through the sent box, you should be able to see which notification was firing it off and the filter or the conditions that were in place for that notification to even have gone out in the first place. Welcome to ServiceNow. If you need help, please let us know. If you have any questions, please reach out to your manager, AbleTutter. I thought it was supposed to show the user ID too, but I guess not. Okay, well that worked, so that's cool. So in case you guys ever need to automate notifications that go out, that is one way to do it. But as y'all saw, there was at least two different ways that we could have done this. We could have just set up a notification and it would have went out to them by that, or just that way, or we could have set up a flow and then it could have went out that way too. Cool, so now we are on to our last scenario here. And that's good because my voice is starting to go. And I'm having to clear my throat a lot. So thank you guys for bearing with me. Okay, so build a catalog for software requests. Like I mentioned, I'm not going to be doing this in this video because it took forever. This was like probably 40 to 60 hours of work hours. It took a long time. And the reason for that is there was 10 different catalog items I had to build. 10 different separate catalog items. What we're going to see here in a moment is a fraction of what I actually built. And the reason for that is we have a lot of variables that did not get carried over to the development instance. So you're kind of just seeing a skeleton version of what I built. But you have a good idea. You'll be able to have a good idea of how much work it took, because each one of these had a different workflow. So there was 10 different workflows in place for 10 different catalog items and a whole new catalog as well. And there was an order guide to kind of tie them all together. Okay, so what I did is, the way to get to this, or actually, let me start over here. So my catalogs. So I'll just show you all what I did. Okay, so these are all the different catalogs on the development instance. So this one did not exist before. This is the new one. But there's the service catalog, there's resources, and there's the technical catalog. Now you can create new catalogs if you want. Let me actually pull up this one, just so you can kind of see what the out-of-the-box service catalog looks like. Okay, so this is kind of the out-of-the-box catalog. So you have your categories. So you have services, hardware, software, can we help you, blah, 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 blah. And it would probably be fine because there's not that many on here, where I could have just added the Adobe one here, the Microsoft one, the desktop support here. But on my work instance, it is very cluttered. We have a lot of different types of catalogs. So I guess I could have made a primary category and then some child categories. I could have done it that way and then pretty much had everything exist on the service catalog, but it's already very crowded, as I mentioned, and we were probably going to be adding on to this catalog at some point too, with different catalog items like Canva, maybe some Google products. So it just made sense, for us to go ahead and set up the software catalog as a standalone catalog. Now, another way we could have done this too is we could have set up software models, because we're actually starting to incorporate SAM, which is Software Asset Management. And when you do that, it actually creates product catalogs for you. So this is one for Adobe, and this is the product catalog. So you can see what this does is this actually creates a catalog from the software model. So if I go over here to maintain items, oops, and then just put in Adobe. Should show up. Adobe Systems. Is it going to show up on here? These are all the ones that I made. I swear I saw it. I swear I saw it, guys. I swear. Oh, Acrobat. Maybe use this one. Okay, so maybe they just gave it a different name. But yeah, Adobe Acrobat. Okay, there we go. So this right here, this catalog item record was actually created from this software model. And then it's classified as a software item. Yeah, so right up here, software catalog item. So it's actually saved under that table. But what we did is we actually just created, bring it up real quick. So in the All Applications menu, I actually had to add a new module. So I put software catalog. And once you click on that, we have our new software catalog here. And we have our desktop software, which is the order guide. So you can bundle all these together. I'll get to that in a second. We have Adobe. So we have 5 different Adobe items here, 5 different Microsoft items here. So if you want, you can just go into Adobe, and you can just request an individual Adobe license. And these aren't real prices, by the way. These are just placeholders. And like I mentioned too, it's missing a lot of variables. So I had like an open by on here. I had an additional details section. We had a approvers and reviewers, which is how we kind of do things where I work. So things have to be approved by your department reviewers and approvers. So all that's missing on here. So that's kind of why it looks like bare bones. But the description, we try to make it pretty. So we have a brief description of what this product does and a picture. that we pulled from Adobe's website. Okay, so let's go ahead and go through these. What I'll do is I'll pretty much just go through this order guide here. And I'll just add quite a few of these so we can kind of run through some of the different catalog items and what they look like. So there's actually some logic in place here that it's called an on-change client script. And what that means is when we put in Abel Tutter's name, for example, this department and this email, it already worked. So this department and this email should automatically populate on its own. Now that is not out of the box functionality. So you actually have to script that. And because department is its own table, you could do it through a client script, but you don't want to do it because when you get over to the service portals, that's not going to work. You need to use a script include. And what a script include is going to do, it's going to actually check this, it's going to check server side. So information that isn't immediately available on the client view, you would need to use a script include to pull from the server. So like department, for example, that was one of the reasons why we wanted to set up the script include was for that. And I can kind of show you guys another thing that we had in place that isn't showing up right now. So that is actually a variable set. And a variable set, I'm all over the place here. This is going to be an hour-long video. Okay, so this is a variable set. So a variable set is something that you know you're going to be using more than once. You don't want to go through and just create these individual variables every single time. So name, department, and email are actually a variable set. I probably could have created this label too and just kind of group them all together, which I should have done, and maybe I'll do that at some point. But right now, if we come over to the variable set, you see that we have the name, the department, and the email. Now, I could just use this variable set over and over and over and over for various catalog items and record producers and things like that. Now, let's come over here. Let me see what I'm doing. Okay, so this is the on-change client script. And what this does is it looks for a variable name. So the variable name that this change script is going off of is the requested for name. So that means anytime that this name is changed, it's going to fire off this script. And what this script is doing is it's using a script include. And there's tons of videos on YouTube where you guys can learn about this because this would take forever to go through all this. But essentially what I'm doing is we're calling that script include. And if there is a match for the email and the departments on that user account that this field was changed to, then it's going to automatically populate them on the profile. Now, not all profiles are going to have that, and in that case, it wouldn't add these two fields, and then the user would have to fill it in manually. But what I'm going to do real quick is just show you guys how we can set up an onload client script. And what an onload client script does is exactly what it sounds like. As soon as this page loads, if it's working correctly, it's going to check the user account. So I'm signed in right now with sysadmin. So what it would do is it would look at the sysadmin account. I probably don't even have a department on here, so it may not work. Well, let me see. I may need to add it in real quick. Yep, so we have a department, we have an email. I think that was the only two it was looking at, right? Yep, just department and email. Okay, so that's good. So let's come over here and we'll use a similar name. So this will be called onload. Oops. We want it to work on all. So if you only select desktop, it's not going to work on mobile and the service portal. So you want them to work on all, assuming that you're utilizing your service portal. And if you have no idea what the service portal is, I will get to that in another video. Okay, so what these mean, just briefly go over them, applies on a catalog item view. So this is the catalog item view. Well, sort of, it's the order guide. But the catalog item view is the initial form where you fill everything out. And then when you're done filling out the form and you hit submit, it's going to create a request. And then within that request, it's either going to have one requested item or multiple requested items. Now, say I submitted a request that had Office, Visual Studio, and Power BI. What it would do is it actually end up creating 3 different request items under that one request. So the hierarchy is request, requested items, and then catalog tasks. Now, catalog tasks are specific tasks for those request items. So say for Visual Studio Pro, I need to assign out 3 different catalog tasks to various groups to get that license fulfilled. Then only the requested item for the Visual Studio Pro would have those 3 tasks. It wouldn't have anything to do with Power BI. Power BI would have its own tasks. And all of that is set in the workflow. Okay, so yeah, we just pretty much want this to happen on the form view is what I'm trying to say. Okay, so this is the framework that you need to work within. So it's just a function for onload. And we could pretty much just copy and paste what we have here. Reformat my code. Okay, requested by. So we're grabbing our variable. We're creating our check user info, which is our script include. This is the name of our function within our script include, check user. This is the field that we're using for our function, or our parameter, which is requested by, which is the variable that I set right here. And then we're doing our callback function. So essentially what this is saying is if this comes out to true, then it's going to go ahead and set our email in our department. Easy peasy. Okay, so now that that is saved, as soon as I reload this page, if everything worked, our requested for should fill in my sysadmin info. And it didn't. What the heck? What the heck, man? Unload. Why are you not working? Is this one still working? Let me see if my unload is still working. That one's working. Requested by. Get value. Oh, you know what it is, guys? Whoops. Darn it. Hold on 1 second. I have to pull something up. Stand by. Sorry, it may take me 1 moment here. I couldn't remember it off the top of my head, so I have to pull it up real quick. Come on, hurry up. Okay. All right. There we go. Got it. Okay, so what we're doing is we're using a GS API to pull in the user ID. So what it does, it's checking the account that you're signed in with, and then it's pulling in the user ID, and then it populates the name. And then once it populates the name, then the other 2 fields should follow. There it goes. Yay. All right, so now that that's working, let's go ahead and move on to Adobe. So now that we're at the Adobe section, let's go ahead and select, I'll just show you some of the logic that's in place. So we have the Creative Cloud. And what the Creative Cloud is going to do, if we hit select yes, it's going to block out the other ones. And the reason for that is these are actually included in Creative Cloud. So there's no reason that a user would want to go ahead and select Creative Cloud and then also Photoshop when you're already getting that with Creative Cloud. So you select yes, they're gone, but we'll just select some of the, well, another thing that's in place too, let me actually show you what's going to happen here, is if I select more than 2, it's going to tell me just to go ahead and select Creative Cloud, because at that point, financially, it doesn't make any sense. So say you selected InDesign, Photoshop, again, these are made up prices, but if you select InDesign, Photoshop, and Premiere Pro, it's going to be more than it would be if you just selected Creative Cloud. So then it doesn't make any sense financially. So it should get a prompt here. And then say, if you require more than 2 applications, not including the other Adobe applications, then please select Creative Cloud. Your selection has been reset. And then you'll see they're all set back to no. So let's just go ahead and select Photoshop and Premiere Pro. And then these are other Adobe applications. So you can see here in the help text, Lightroom is there, After Effects, and others. So we'll use that just so we can see that catalog item too. And then we have Microsoft. So got that. We'll just do all these so we can preview as many as possible. Okay, and if this had the full view, like I said too, there'd be some additional information sections down here in case the user wanted to add in some different instructions. Or what they could do too is we had our reviewers and our approvers, so they need to go and select who is going to be approving this request, because obviously there's a financial impact to getting these licenses. So next we'll go ahead and select choose options. Okay, and the cool thing about order guides too is y'all saw that we had our requested for filled out on the order guide. Now it's going to fill it out for all of these, so you don't have to go into each individual one of these software items and put back in, system administrator for the user or whoever the user may be. But if they do want to change it, then they can. So in case a different user wanted Photoshop, they just change that, and so on. You can see the prices over here too. Next tab. So you would just toggle through all of these. And this was a little bit unique because I didn't copy and paste this or anything like that. There was a lot of different items here, and I had to think of a way to, how should I display this, because there's so many. So what I did is I just created a table on the body, and then I just pretty much formatted it the way I wanted it to so that it looked pretty, and then I added in all the different the logos too from Adobe, and then a brief description about what each of them are. And then down here, you would just do a checkbox for the ones that you want. Okay, and similar with the Microsoft Office, there was quite a few, so just so they know what they're getting. Good to go. Project plans, good to go. That one's good to go. Microsoft Visual Studio Pro with GitHub, good to go. And similar on this one, in case you couldn't find your Microsoft applications, the person who requested this whole software catalog just said, just put in a text field and they could kind of put in the different applications that they want. Okay, so before I hit checkout, if everything worked correctly, we should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different requested items under one request. This is just showing the ones that are free and the ones that cost money. And we don't have this on our instance, but I guess you could put a shipping address and special instructions in case it's something that needs to be shipped. So you guys saw on the service catalog page that there was hardware on there too. So in case you're ordering like a computer or a phone, check out. And a lot of stuff in my workflow is not on this instance, so it probably completely wrecked my workflow. Well, let's see. Okay, so we have our request. So just one request, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we have 9 different request items, which worked out perfect. Oh, and looks like it's still populating the approver, which is strange. Something's happening in the workflow that shouldn't be happening because I didn't set a reviewer and approver. Interesting, but yeah. So that's pretty much what we got going on for our software catalog, guys. So I hope that gave you all a head start in case this is something that you may want to build. It's a really cool product. I got a lot of compliments on it after it was built, and the person that requested it seemed very happy with it as well. All right, guys. So that about does it for all our different scenarios. We hit all of them, and we came in under an hour, so that's great. In reality, though, this one would have taken much longer. Much longer. We probably would have been done like 2 weeks later. But, oh, and I forgot to say too, if you want to save yourself some time, because these were so similar, pretty much all I did is for Adobe, for example, because they had mostly the same fields, I would just go in and I would just hit copy. And what copy did is it carried over all the same variables and variable sets and scripts and all that good stuff. And all I was pretty much changing was the name, the description, and then obviously I had to build the workflow, but the workflow was similar too. So if you go into the workflow, I'll just pick one of them, for example, and they weren't real intricate workflows or anything like that. They were pretty small. Yeah, so you pretty much just, I was copying the workflows too, and you could do that here by clicking the ellipsis, excuse me, and then coming over to copy flow. And then same thing, I was just going in and changing the variables, stuff like that, what I want to show up. Any things that need to be different, because some of the different catalog items had different types of tasks that needed to populate. So that was one of the differences with that. But a lot of it was copy, just pretty much copying one from the other, building an initial template and then building it out from there with copies and just making small changes along the way. But was still a lot of work, but I'm very happy with how it came out to be. So if y'all enjoyed this though, please consider subscribing to the channel and giving this video a like. It really helps out a lot. And in the next episode, I'll try to find some different stuff for us to do. I'll do these maybe once a month just so they don't become oversaturated and then we have some interesting use cases to go off of. But yeah, I will catch you all in the next episode very soon.